Welcome back to another episode of the Vision Pod, where guests are handpicked to bring value to your everyday life. Enjoy. Corbin, thanks for coming on the podcast this episode. It's good to have you on here.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for inviting me up to this little nook and getting
the secret room.
Yeah, this is cool. I'm in the secret room, right on.
Yeah, and just upgrading it every chance I kind of get. So right now you work in the oil field. What would you say is the right way to do the oil field in Grand Prairie?
The right way to do the oil field. We could probably talk about the wrong way a little easier, but
Yeah.
the right way, I think a lot of guys go to the oil field for the paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
and I really believe you gotta keep some of that paycheck. You can't go out. We've kind of touched on already the toys, the side by side, the quads. Then you need a bigger garage, and then you get a bigger house, and you just have more and more and more because you accumulate these funds in your paychecks. You know, depending on where you go, but it's an industry where you can make really good money, and the crowd that you hang out with, you start to kind of live in that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, you know who you associate with. That's a big thing that I really circle into my life is, yeah, if you're doing something and we're hanging out, I'm probably gonna be attracted to that, and I may go do that, and then we're all, like you said, we're all buying side by sides, we're all buying quads, we're all buying. So the right way to do the oil field, I mean, I do believe my position, like being an operator, I do pipeline maintenance now. So pigging, I don't know, that maybe it's not that common of a layman's daily man's term, but yeah, I send something from one end of the pipeline to the other, keep it clean, keep the water out. Some of the water will have bacteria in it. It can eat the pipeline out. Try and keep wax out of it because the oil and the condensate that comes out of the ground, once it cools down, it create wax. So I keep it clean. But yeah, the right way to do it, I would believe, is to hold on to these funds, because it is an industry that, unless you stay in the oil and gas, the mill, let's just say if you work at a mill or you got to go to Home Depot or a change of career, may not equal up to what the oil and gas industry is going to pay you. So, I believe being on a derrick, like a drilling rig or service rig, like I see those guys out there, and you talk about the right way to do it. Now there's options, but I don't know if maybe I'm too soft. I'm getting older now and I'm soft, but that's some hard work that those guys put in, and it's some serious work. And yeah, I think the operating, obviously I'm biased because I do it, but that's, I think, where a lot of guys try and go towards and direct themselves to.
So do you just work your way up into that position, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think a lot, like, even, it's a funny story, when I got hired in the oil field, I was working out of Edson, operating. We were about to have our first child, Masons. This is 6 years ago. And so everyone's like, go work for 7Gens. Just go work for 7Gens. How do I do, like, I tried resumes, I tried offices, I tried phone calls, and nothing worked, nothing. I couldn't get in. So I just called, as the oil field is small, as we talk about Grand Prairie being small, the oil field is small, and called buddies and, hey, did you ever work at 7Gen? Did you work at 7Gen? Finally got a hold of a guy who did, because come to find out, it's in 7Gen days, it was just, who do you know? That's all it was. Who do you know?
Yeah.
So I get a hold of this buddy of mine called Mike. We used to work together. Called the boss. The boss called me, and it was as quick as, hey, I hear you want a job. Yeah. Okay, when can you start? Tomorrow, whenever you want. Okay, be here in 2 weeks. And I remember before I hung up the phone, I was like, am I hired? Like, it was the strangest. There was no resume. There was no interview. He just called me, I want to say out of the blue, and just, you want to come work up here.
Crazy.
So how do you get into it? It is, working on the back trucks, getting oil experience, because a lot of that stuff, like, the oil field's extremely dangerous. There's a new show coming out called, I think it's Landman, and they talk about getting oil out of the ground is the most dangerous job out there. And the pressure that's out there, that's hidden until it isn't. It can easily, a lot of things out there can kill you. And so to get that experience, they call it a green hand if you're just brand new out there and you're not aware of trap pressure, what's behind this pipeline, this gauge, machinery, drilling rigs, everything that's moving out there. So it kind of, they really appreciate, I think, to have someone with an experience. So if that is with a back truck, if that is a pressure truck, if that's a tool truck, if you can have some years with your boots on the ground out there around this type of equipment, I would say that's they're definitely going to be more directed towards that, having some kind of experience with it. Did they hire green people? I mean, they took a chance on me
Mm-hmm.
when I went out there, and you pump jacks, you got to change packing and put rods on tap and all this terminology, erratigans. I remember I had to ask the guy at least 2 dozen times, what are those called? And they shut in your packing when you're pump jacking. You do work on it. You need to change your packing. So erratigans. Just I was as green as I could be. My dad was a lumber mill guy, so I know like oil field background there. But they took a chance on me because I was not afraid to grab a tool and grab a shovel. And you got to rely on your strengths when you don't have strengths in that field.
Hmm.
When I was much younger, I shouldn't say when I was younger, I still think I have it now, but obviously it's turned down a bit. But my ambition to be the first on a tool, or to work the hardest that day, or to make sure that, yeah, I was the top of the list for effort that day, yeah, I had no problem with that. And I believe, if I rewind, that's how I actually got the position. Is I had no money, so I was calling farmers. Do you got any work? Middle of February, and he said, "Yeah, you can come cut pipe to help me with my fence." So minus 20, 25 out there on a chop saw, throwing pipe around, measuring it out, chopping it, building it. So he saw that, and I think that's what really spoke to him, to be able to go to the boss and say, "Hey, this kid's out
Okay.
here in minus 20, dealing with frozen pipe, chopping it. He keeps showing up every day." And so I think that was ultimately what got me that opening. And I got an interview, and a month later he said, "Come September, we'll have a job for you." And sure enough, I roofed all that summer, and then yeah, come September he filled his promise, and away I went to Edson, and yeah, that's how I got in. So
Hmm.
basically, yeah, sweat and a strong back, and
Yeah.
and knowing the right people. I mean, that's a lot of life too. I feel is just having individuals that you're gonna put into your circle of friends, and like we talked earlier in the
Hmm.
kitchen about your parents and Matt and Dan and all these folks, that you surround yourself with those good individuals. And
So
yeah, it can
how do
come
you
full
surround your
circle.
how do you surround yourself with those type of people when you're kind of are you working quite a bit, and like the people you work with probably are a little bit different. So how do you find those people?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, and I had said that to my wife too. Like the oil field, we are a diverse bunch out there,
Hmm.
and again, each to their own. And but there's definitely individuals. So how do you surround yourself with, I guess, people that where you want to be, or people you want to surround yourself with? And I think a big moment for me is almost going to a place of, and darkness is a wrong word. Darkness sounds depressing, but you got to go to a place where you can be an individual and kind of remove yourself, I guess,
Mm.
remove yourself from a group, because you're going to be the person you were with this circle of friends, and you're going to want, if it's internal, you're going to want to change. So you're going to remove yourself from them, but until you can get in that new group, it's going to be a real lonely stage.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm describing. You become an individual. You go away for a while. You work on yourself. You get those habits together. Maybe it's a month, maybe it's 3 months, a year. Each individual is going to be different. So on the journey to find new people, I think that's where the development and growth for me happened. Is, who do I want to be, or do I want to follow my friends? Do I want to do the same things they're doing? That didn't align with me, and there was so much growth throughout. I mean, 18 to, and then when I came, we got married when I was 26, and became a dad at 28. And that was instrumental for me, for
Hmm.
like this new mindset, this new direction, this new,
So what was that new mindset?
for the big thing for me was, I think, finances, because that was at that point really dictating what kind of lifestyle I was going to have, and time. And I put those two together, finance and time. I think they go kind of hand in hand with the life that I wanted to live. So once the firstborn was there, and I was still going to work, and when I was at work, I'd be gone for 3 days, I'd be
Hmm.
gone for 4 days, I'd be home one night, and then yeah, I think I'll be back, but no, then I'm out there for a week. And I used to do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and these babies, they start out 7 pounds, and they come home and they're half a foot and a foot and two. It
Mm-hmm.
grows so fast. And so
Yeah.
to me, all those emotions of, you want to be that present dad. I want to be there with my kid, but I got to be at work too because
Yeah.
I'm the man. I'm the father of the house. I'm the provider. I understand that as well. So it was a hard tug of war for me. And so that was something that really kickstarted me into thinking I need to start doing something financially that's going to benefit me that I don't got to work for.
Mm.
And that's where right away that I say the easy one, but real estate. It just seemed to me if there's one thing, well, I don't want to say wealthy, but financially educated people had, they had
Mm-hmm.
real estate
Yeah.
in one way or another, a rental, a business, commercial. They had that. So that's where I honed in on that right away. And for me being a saver, like I saved everything and I was taught that.
Mm.
So when you talk about the education and my mindset and what I knew, I always kind of do it as I had a blinder on one eye, and my left eye only had Dave Ramsey. That's all I knew. That's what I
Yeah.
knew. I knew to save. I knew no debt. I knew um, always put your 10% away and don't do anything risky. And that's my education, what I knew. And then when I started to like self educate and read and YouTube and look things up, my other eye opened and there's Robert Kiyosaki. And I'm like, what? This is a possibility. This is real over here. So then I go down and like again reading his book. I'm sure Rich Dad Poor Dad. A lot of us have heard of that. YouTube videos, and then I started to reach out and to get connected to Matt. The coincidence is an old word I used to use, and we can get into that later. But he had a listing of a condo, and I just called Matt up, and it was like, "Hey, can we look at this? Talk about this? I'd like a rental." And then the meeting started, and like we chatted about earlier, I don't know what I want. I just think that wealthy people have some rental, and I think I want one, and I
Yeah.
have the money, this, that, and the other. So yeah, it grew that way, and that was the big kickstart to it. The kids were born. My time was just being, excuse me, my time at work was being taken away that I could have been at home,
Yeah.
and then I had this thought and like I said, this ambition that my money should be doing something for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that just totally opened up a whole new atmosphere, whole new dynamic of what I wanted to do with it, my financial plan. And yeah, that was the journey of sick. And it seemed like a long time ago to let it kind of marinate to where it is today. But in the grand scheme of things, like 6 years, it's pretty darn quick. And as many of us would say, I wish I would have started earlier.
Right. Yeah.
I wish I would have had this information when I was 18. And we joke about this. At 18, you might have told me this and I would have been cool. I'm thinking about tonight. Like I'm not thinking about
Right.
25 years or
Yeah.
10 years down the road. So, but I'm really fortunate that I did just, you know, have this desire to make a change. And I think that's where that internally, that's where it has to come from. Again, you can tell me information, but if I don't want to do it, I don't want to grasp it, I don't want to absorb it. Okay, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
But internally, it was like something dramatically needs to change because I don't want to be gone from my kids' lives. I worked at a sawmill with, I don't know, 20 millwrights. They're 40, 30, 50 years old. And the joke is they all had 3 wives and 9 kids, right? So they're giving me life advice, which,
Right.
yeah, exactly, right? What not to do. And yeah, and like what they told me is just the kids, like it is, and we hear it lots too. Kids, they grow just like that. They're only 5 for a year, and then they're this, or this. I can work when I'm 70 or 75 if I have to. If it all goes wrong and I got to do it then, I'll do it then. But right now, the being around for the kids is massive, and having that family dynamic, the family atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
it's extremely important to me, and that's why I needed to implement different things that were gonna help me along the way. Because yeah, I was like, work. That's a joke I say too. Like at 30, I could do a brand new career, and by 60, that's 35 years. I could still be like full pension, full this, full that. It's a long time to work. Like that's a lot of years. So I'm trying to supplement doing something that I actually really love to do with putting your financial
Mm-hmm.
plan to work and helping you out to kind of assist that. So yeah, that was a really big moment. I think when the Mason was born,
Mm-hmm.
that everything changed. Even emotions at the hospital. Guys don't talk about that stuff. Women will have like baby showers, and they'll have like wedding parties, and they'll have this party, and then they talk about all this stuff, and men are just like, "Yep, diapers, things will change." Well, like you don't get any sleep. So for me, like that reality of seeing like your newborn, which I never held a baby, I probably should have got a few
Never
reps in.
had.
No, I never held a baby before, so a few reps of that probably would have helped greatly. And the walk was like from the delivery room to our room was, I don't know, 20, 30 feet, and it felt like two football fields. Like this little guy was 6 pounds, and I have to walk back with it. They just hand. It's wild to look back on when you're a brand new parent, and they just hand you a live, real baby. Like, yeah, there you go ahead. Like, I know what I'm doing, but obviously I didn't. So it was like, it was from that day, like the emotion and just the tug on your heart and the responsibility. And there was so much fundamental stuff that now, like, I'm the adult. Like, I'm responsible for this living being now. So it was basically from day one. It's like, okay, we got to sit down and really reevaluate what things are going to look like, because
Mm-hmm.
it's things have changed now.
Yeah.
It just took one child.
Yeah. So then, what was the first thing you did when you knew something had to change?
I want to say it was self education. Um, I just knew something. I had to reach out to different sources. There's Jim Rohn talks about this quite a bit. If you're worried about what the next 5 years will look like, it'll be just like the previous 5 years if you do nothing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's, don't worry about it. It'll be exactly the same. Do nothing, and you'll probably end up in the same boat. So for me, it was the self education. It was jumping into to books and to YouTube and taking action. I think a lot of things, because we can sit around with a group of friends and chat, and well, maybe I could. That's a good idea. And then we just go home and go to bed and go to work the next day, and nothing happens, nothing changes. So for me, it was to take action. It was to actually call, like I said, the realtor, call Matt,
Mm.
and be clueless.
Yeah.
Like, he's asking these questions, and I want to feel like I'm somewhat intelligent with him, but I don't know what the answer is. It was kind of like, take my hand and just tell me what we're doing. I want to get here, and that's what I found with getting, mentors or coaches um, throughout this journey, is they're doing it. And that's what I really liked about Matt, is he had rentals at the time. It wasn't like, oh, I just sell houses and I think this kind of how it goes. He was able to walk you through, this is what I did. This is what I did. This is the next stage. This is how it worked. So for me, that was extremely calming, and put me on a path of trust, because he knew what he was doing. Sorry. So that helped a lot in the journey too. And that was just another thing that I learned, is surround yourself with people who have been there, who have done it. Right? You can walk hand in hand with someone to learn together. Or if you skip those 3-4 chapters and go to a guy who's successful at it, you're going to get to the same spot, but he's going to kind of teach you that, you know, not index page, but he'll just, in less than chapters, in a few pages, he can give you that same information. So for me, it was outreaching, going to mentors, going to coaches, going to people that have done it before, and just outsourcing different avenues of information than what I was raised with, without trying to downplay or be rude. But when you look back, for me at least, like with my folks, they're teaching me what they know, because they knew one thing or this thing or that thing. So that's where I say the Dave Ramsey thing. That's what I grew up on. That's what I knew, and I knew it, and I preach it. And everyone knows me back home for being frugal, for having that old car and not getting a pickup truck, for not spending money, for not traveling, for not. And I look back now and I'm like, did I? I didn't buy a diesel pickup truck when I was 18. Bummer. Okay. Do I look back now and think I really missed out on it? Or where I am now, am I more beneficial and farther ahead with our financial state and with our home and with, that kind of stress level? And for me, obviously, it's a no-brainer. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when you're 18 as well, I think most of the time we do it to impress people. So, but that, to circle back to your question, that was it. I think I just went to different mentors. I went to people who have done it before. I just leaned on different avenues of thinking, but from one to another, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, with YouTube as well. Like, that'll just send you down a path of all these individuals that have that kind of mindset, and then you just continue to grow off of that. You talk, and like I said, Matt was probably the first kind of pivot point for me, And then he really directed me off the bat and sent me to different individuals and read this book or listen to that podcast. And then your brain just
Yeah.
starts to, those gears just start turning, smoke starts coming out, and after, and it's crazy. And then you find yourself getting surrounded by individuals that think that same way.
Hmm.
It was a wild journey, and it's still continuing. Like there's still individuals even with the financial market that we're working in now. Just there's individuals that want to talk and think about the same stuff I do. Like it's beautiful
Hmm.
to find your circle, that inner circle that you're looking for.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey's good. I think where it gets a little where he takes it a little bit too much is from a Christian standpoint. I look at sometimes I look at God as like the good host, and he's a host, and he gives us what we ask for and we want it. So I think always stressing about if you're gonna have enough, or always being so worried if the next thing's gonna come in. I think that's where like a little bit of trust comes in, and just believing for believing for something that you know is gonna happen. You know that the host isn't going to leave you and let you do everything on your own. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's part of it, and yeah, he wants us to be successful because our success looks good for the creator. Because if the creator doesn't make something successful, it doesn't look well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's good. Yeah, interesting. And I don't want to say it's just one dimensional with. I think it is. No, I can go down on that. It is one dimensional with Ramsey, and he obviously understands. And in one of the, I'm not gonna say issues, but an interesting fact is like when he was coming up, he was the realtor,
Right.
and he
He was.
had
Yeah.
millions of dollars of real estate and rentals and this, that, and the other, and he over leveraged
Right. Yeah.
himself, and then he went bankrupt, and so you go from that
Well, yeah.
high.
You go from one extreme to one extreme. So.
Yeah, so he failed, we'll call it. You hit bankruptcy. So usually when something catastrophic happens like bankruptcy or failure, you're going to say, I'm not going to do that ever again. And that was where his journey down the other side. So it's interesting how he got to his position
Hmm.
for feeling and thinking about that, because he was so far on one side and then the failure, and then that's where change has to happen, right? So we're going to do something completely different because that didn't work out. But yeah, how he doubles down on that's where he builds his empire, his position, and you got to take a stand on it. And it it does work for a lot of Americans, Canadians, who is ever
For sure.
listening to it. Like that implementation of that will work. And it's not the only way. And I like to just chat about the other way, because I guess in my story it really was based off the Ramsey.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is information. I want to give you the tools so you're informed, and then you can make informed decisions. But my 25 years, let's call it, I just didn't even know. I had
Hmm.
no idea what was on the other side. So, and then and this is in life too, the more you self educate yourself, and I just want to spread the word around of, and to save that time, that journey, that, like I said, what Matt would have done for me, saved me 5 chapters and said, come with me. We're going over here. Okay, let's put it to work right away. So with the information that I've learned, I want to provide that to other people. And it's a wide scope of things, but yeah, I enjoy conversation and education, let's call it, or just information. So it's been greatly beneficial in this last 2 years. I've really become more vocal about it, which has been a different step. I used to do a lot of my real estate quietly.
Hmm.
No one knows what's going
Yeah.
on. And then guys at work, they've challenged me on it before they knew it all. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case. Oh, no, and they battle me. So I eventually had to come out and be like, listen, I got some real estate, and this is how I do it. This is how it works. And then their interest grows, because they were in the same position that I was earlier on, where they have questions and they want to know. And so then I can reflect back to my time and go, that was me. So I need to be more vocal about this stuff when
Hmm.
it comes to real estate, or when it comes to, finding a mentor. How do you do this? Or what information is out there? So it's been beneficial for me, for my growth and my development. And that's how I feel like I'm building relationships too, is becoming more vocal about things in the communication information sort of route.
For sure. So what's your oldest kid's name?
Mason.
Mason. So
Mason.
when Mason turns, let's say, 14 years old, and he's like, "Dad, I don't know what to do with my life. Where do I go?" So how do you lead him? Like, do you point him towards his giftings? Do you tell him get a job, mowing lawns? What does that conversation look like?
Yeah, work in progress for sure on that. And I've had these conversations too, and thoughts of, well, how do I direct him? How can I help him? Of course, his talents, like, or his gifts, like you talk about. What is he going to be going down? Is he introverted, extroverted? Is he like wearing his hands? Is he crafty? Is he a writer? He's definitely more on that.
Hmm.
I don't want to say, because every kid plays with Lego, but this kid like really loves Lego and he loves crafts and he loves like those. I want to say, yeah, the hands-on type of stuff. Loves the puzzles, and maybe that again. I never held a baby before Mason, so I don't really know what 6-year-olds do now. But he's doing, I think, what 6-year-olds do. But for outgoing, his outdoorsiness, his extremeness, that's not his forte. So how do I guide him? I think the biggest thing, this goes back to what we're just chatting about, is information, is to letting him know. Another Jim Rohn thing. He says, I'm going to get my son to buy 2 bikes, one to ride and one to rent. Can I get that mindset in him already? Can I get, because we are programmed. I think the schooling system does it well. Like, we are programmed to work for $1. It's that circle. It's that circle to go to work, to get $1, to pay your taxes and buy things, to make sure you can go back to work, get a paycheck, pay your taxes, buy things, to make sure you can go back to, like, I do believe the school system is into that. We don't really encourage, I don't want to say group projects, but if you're the CEO, you might hire a CFO, because he's going to be really, really well knowledgeable in that area. The schooling system, I believe, just doesn't portray that. So for me, what direction I would do for Mason, I think I want to educate him. I think I want to.
So would you homeschool him?
We do homeschool.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we are. Yeah, we are doing that right now. Again, he's done by 10 a.m.
Hmm.
And that's another mind-boggling thing now, especially when it was still early September. Wasn't what it is today, 4 feet of snow, but he would be outside swinging his golf club at 10 a.m.
Hmm.
And again, I believe at 6 years old, get out and play.
Yeah.
Go use your imagination. Go explore. Go be. I call it a kid, but yeah, go be a kid. Go have an exploring day and figure some things out. And again, this is where the family dynamic sits in. We really like that because we have 4 kids, and yeah, we want a tight family knit bond, and sending them to school for 8 hours. And again, that's an interesting thought too, is how he's done by 10 a.m. at home, but we pick him up at 3 o'clock at school. So the more, I think the homeschooling community is growing vastly, and yeah, being able to have him home and mold him the way that our thought process is, and understanding the importance of giving him all the information. Of course, I'm leaning definitely more one way than I used to, but I don't want him to be blindsided by options when he's 18 or 25 or anything like that. I want him to have all the information down on the table. And then, yeah, what's going to draw you? Are you more comfortable being safe in a pension job, going to steady hours? Then do it. Like, go ahead. But if you want to go out and entrepreneur and go have some more risk and take on clients and buy things and loans, and okay, give her. And I hope I'll be a good resource for him. But I know there'll be better ones out there that he can go direct to the source and go learn as well. And I think that's what's key, is going to, let's say, going to Matt. Maybe Mason goes to Matt and chats with him. Maybe Mason goes to Dan and chats with him. Like those strong, characteristic male figures out there, and go get information. And you might leave one of those conversations and go, I don't like that. I don't like that one bit.
Yeah.
Or you might absorb everything they're saying and run with it. So I think it's very important. Yeah, my big thing is just so he can have the education to make decisions that are going to align best what he's suited for.
Yeah, I think different investment strategies are different for so many different people.
Yeah, and you're going to have different feelings. Like, we're talking about feelings now, but different feelings towards that. Like, are you okay with risk and stress? Or do you want that comfort of steady, consistent pension, someone taking care of you? How do you align? Because some people to think like entrepreneurship is, oh, that's just They just need that paycheck. They need to know their hours, need to know their schedule, need to know the consistency, and it's not going to work well on the other side of that coin. So each to your own. Again, my big thing is just information, and that's in financial, that's in life, that's in health, that's in fitness, that's in just human beings. Like I really have turned that page on wanting to learn, just learn more. Because I saw, and that's what changed with the kids, is they were learning, they progress so fast. One day, he can't grab anything. He's on his back as a potato, and then he grabs something. And then he rolled over. And then he can crawl, and then he can pull his head, and then he can, like, the progression they always learned. And I kind of felt like as adults, we got to a plateau.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated, I got steel-toed boots and a hard hat, and that's it. That's what I maxed out.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that consistency in wanting to even learn as an adult. I took a lull for a while, and I just don't think that's the way it should be. I don't think we should just settle for, this is just my life now. This is just who I am. I still think growth is extremely important to see your potential of where is your ceiling. I don't know if it's when you get your diploma, and that's kind of what I thought. I was kind of painting this box as, you've made it. Like, you've reached, we're gonna have a big party for you. You reached your I wasn't going to college or university, nothing like that. And I think that's kind of where I settled into. And now having to set, I feel like, an example and be that leader in the household. And kids watch. They may not, well, they don't respond to listening all the time, but they hear, and they're always watching you. So for me to have to, I think, like, physically set an example, see me reading, see me doing push-ups, join in on that stuff, being active with their mother, like, kids are, they're visual, and they have selective hearing, it seems. But yeah, it's a huge importance for me on that part. Huge.
So where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Like, do you see, where do you see yourself?
Retirement. It's funny, we throw that word around. I want to retire. I want to retire. What is retirement? Retirement at 70, is it this? Just sitting in chairs on a porch drinking coffee, looking at the stream going by? I don't think, I don't think that's especially when you're ambitious and you have a different mindset and a direction. I don't think you can just go 100 miles an hour to zero. So in 10 years, I'd love to be extremely present in our house daily. Even if I don't think I can quit completely, I'd like to do something that I truly enjoy doing. If that's woodworking, if that's something in the fitness, if that's just being outdoors, working in businesses, mentoring, even that aspect. I've always thought about running like a financial class of just, I don't want to say layman's terms because it's not to everybody, but just TFSAs, RSPs, what's banking, what's checkings, what's savings, what's a credit card, any free money. I've always thought of that type of stuff. So I think education has really taken over. Coaching hockey's always been fun. I would just like to get in a financial position that it can subsidize my lifestyle to just be present, I think, with personnel in my family. Because my job is very, very remote. And I see myself and two other guys a day, and then I'm by myself. So I wonder if that's what's missing. And with our care group and church and community in that setting, I think that's been excellent for me, because with my work, it is very remote and alone out there. So in 10 years, the ability to, I think, educate. I would like in some degree to educate and be interactive. Like I said, on the ice, in a classroom, and being active. I mean, that's always something I've always loved to do, and I always will do. But that would be, that'd be exceptional to be in that sort of spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just really that teacher.
Yeah, I think so. And like I go back to the high school thing. You kind of get painted into a box of, this is who you are. Here's the test we gave you. Poor reader. I was that guy of like reading the book and getting 6 sentences down and being like, darn, I was over here. My brain was over here, or spaced out. But come to find out, I guess they paint you in that box in high school. If you're just going to be this type of a student, this type of a guy, you're going to get this type of a job. And then you get out of that and you find out you can learn about things that really interest you, like the finance, or you can really double down on exploring or hiking or outdoors or things that grab your attention. Well, now I can't put the book down. I'm retaining all this information. So that's a turning point too, is to figure out that you aren't painted in this high school box that they kind of trajected you into. You have these ability to learn, but you got to be engaged in it. And I just wasn't very engaged in. I'm that classic jock, I guess, that, my favorite class was gym and the best class I had was gym, and it just wasn't. But I wasn't engaged in a lot of it when it was going on at the time. But then you get out of it and you want to self-educate yourself into things that grasp you. And yeah, look out. So that was a big turning page for me, is that maybe I am kind of smart in these other things that school wasn't, again, directing me into. And there is potential and ambition and direction that I can take this to another level of, like owning and running a business or having a real estate portfolio. Like that totally blew my mind. I guess, again, I didn't know how you did that. I thought you just had to have a lot of money and you had to buy it outright. And I had no idea how you went about it. And I'm sure there's a lot of other individuals that could possibly have that same idea and just wonder, boy, it's out of my realm. There's no way I could do it. And I think that's where I really want to educate, again, all aspects of life. There's lots of, I don't want to call them daily hacks. I haven't figured out. No, I haven't figured out. But that I've learned that changed my life, that I want to pass along to other individuals. And so that, to me, yeah, I think that'd be fantastic to be able to, I don't want to say give back to the community, but just give back to individuals that want to grasp more and want to learn more. Maybe they fit into that same kind of alignment that I did, where they think, I'm just a hockey player. That's all I'm going to be. And that's my limit, and hard hat and hammer. That's it. So that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of give value back and give people what you wish they knew, or you wish you knew when you were that age.
I mean, yeah, it would save me a lot of time. And we can always, sit back and look at that, and if I only knew, And the big thing of that too is knowing, and then if I only took action. I think that's major, major. You got to take action on this, because there'll be fear. One quote that sits with me is, fear has killed more dreams than failure ever will. And that was massive, massive for me. And it's so true. We get caught up and we're nervous, and doing something different, change, of course, is uncomfortable.
Every time you start something positive, you're gonna have an immediate something negative. It's just every time there's always a different reaction that will come up.
And what's difficult, I found, is sometimes the closest people may give you that negative reaction or that negative impulse. Oh, that's a shotgun shell to your sales. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
So that's I don't want to say dangerous part about it, but you're going in a different realm of thinking, a different idea to the people that are closest to you, that you value their opinion on. And they may come down and tell you, because what I've found out is they don't understand. So they're just going to react on the only way that they know, because I've heard real estate's really risky. Yeah, everyone has one bad rental story of one guy who had one bad rental. Now, is everything perfect and every rental goes well? Of course not. There's going to be some highs and lows. But the importance of having a good circle of people around you, I guess, when it comes to these type of ideas as well, is massive. And that's where that was a big change for me, is when I started telling different people about my ideas and getting different responses. And then that really started to water that plant and let me bloom. Because if you keep going back to those same people, they're going to try and trim you down. They're not going to let you flourish. So that was massive for me. But that quote is always, there's so much truth in it. And when you really dissect it and let it just marinate, that one's massive to me. So it's something that I've really try to take action on too. And yeah, there might be some failures, but you got to take action.
Did you ever find that there was a time, like you you pick up a book, you learn that you love learning about finances, you learn that you love learning about what the school didn't teach you, but a year later or 2 years later, was there a time that you kind of like plateaued and you're like, all these books say the same thing. I have to. Was there a time you're like, I'm not learning anything else anymore?
That I've learned all that I can learn from it.
Not all that you can learn from it. More so like, okay, enough reading. I have to do something.
Take some action.
Yeah.
I think I heard that quote before I started reading, so I think my action was quite well.
Oh, okay.
I want to say I stood in the starting blocks with real estate for the longest. Like we chatted earlier, but I was a saver. And that first check, 20% down on a rental, oh, that it was sickening because it was the biggest check I ever wrote in my life, and I was a saver. So that was probably the biggest pull on the reins for me. And now lately we've gone into some different business avenues, and it's so like rewarding, and it feels rejuvenating to take action on it, to sometimes to a point where we pull the trigger and then we have discussions like, did we do the right thing? But it's almost, I make the joke of like a text or an email. We'll stew on it, we'll think about it. I've tried this new thing where I just text and press send. It's gone. It's in the universe. It's in the world. It's in the nothing I can do about it now. It's there. So
And then you throw your phone at the wall and then
yeah, I can reread it 10 minutes later. Like, oh well, but we can be hesitant on that stuff. And like you said, you can't just pull the trigger on everything. Not everything that not everything that glitters is gold. Not everything that shines is gold. Like, so you got to be aware. Not everything's a home run, but these last things that we've been going after and pursuing, we've taken action on it. They have been working out. They are going in our way. I do believe that circle of influence that you keep surrounded or with you, they're going to guide you too. And if they care about you, they'll say something. They won't just agree with everything you say. But that's been a big one. But yeah, nothing's held us up too much on that. It's been constant education and like I said, communication with others and constant learning. That's helped us and motivated us to continue.
So to kind of wrap it up, do you have anything to say to somebody, a young entrepreneur, or even old but they don't know it yet?
Yeah, lots to say, I guess, but to me, we've hit on it lots today. But that constant learning, constant idea of you don't have to agree with everything on the other side of the coin, but to learn about it, to absorb it, to understand. I guess that's a big thing. Try and understand where another individual's coming from, or how something in the economy is working, or even to really get in the deep end, like Bitcoin. That's a totally new thing. To try and understand and grasp different ideas. Staying the same, continuing to do the same things, you're going to get those same results. I love hearing that too. It just speaks so much truth to it, and there's so much to that statement. I think we need to continually develop, adapt to changing situations in the economy, the world, even just your physical health, well-being. Getting older, things change too, right? There's lots to it. So I would just stay ready, stay active. There's Joe Rogan talks about it too. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I love that idea. Like, have these tools, have that ability.
Yeah.
Be knowledgeable, be physically prepared, and then whatever comes your way, you're ready for it.
Yeah. So you work out quite a bit. How do you think working out affected your life? Do you work out quite a bit?
Yeah. It's it's kind of been my whole life, to be honest. I always say a big fish in a small pond. Come from Marinthorpe, 1,200 people in the whole town. And I was a good athlete for that small town. Right. So it did me well. Track and field, red ribbons, hockey. There's only 10 of us, and you're asking someone if they have skates to make the team. But I was a really good hockey player. So it always had that athletic ability, and that made me friends, and that made groups of people. And so everywhere I went through that, I got to play up to junior hockey for the Storm. That's where firefighting came into play. And then when kids came along, there was a triathlon. So I started doing triathlons because I want to be mobile and be able to bend down with my kids and play with them. And that's, I want to say, one of the bigger times where I could be alone. And when you're alone running for 2 hours, an hour, you go through a lot of, I call it suck. Like you just go through a lot of suck when you're on a run. And I'm 230 pounds at this time. My body doesn't run. It likes to lift weights and stand still. So you're going through that mental battle. And then you start to callous the mind. That's what Goggins, he would always say, callous the mind, right? So you're doing stuff that you don't want to do. So you're going to push your limits to farther than you want to go. So you're callousing that mind and you're proving to yourself, look what I can do. I had to call my uncle. He did Ironmans in Quebec. And I said, I can't run more than 10K. I cannot get to 10K. And he simplified it. He said, Corbin, just run in a straight line for 5K and turn around. You have to get home. You can do it. And it's funny, the simplicity of that. And I think there's some comedy relief behind it. But yeah, okay. So that's what I did the next day. And so you can check off 10 kilometers. So for me, 10 kilometers is a huge hurdle. I can never get past it. And then you do. And then that just elevates, well, what else can I do?
Get someone to drive you 10 kilometers from your house and
drop you
kick
off.
you out.
You will find a way. But I would do it. You know what would happen? I'd do like a 5 to 6 kilometer loop and to my door. So my brain says, hey, you're done, man. You're at your door. Shut it off. You made it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. There was times where I'm battling with my brain. Go. You're home. It's okay. Turn off. So
you done good.
You did it. You did it. So that's where fitness, bike rides, 4-hour bike rides. So you're doing 100 kilometers on your bike. It's just you and the road and the wind for 4 hours. I'm not listening to music because I'm on the road. You want to hear for vehicles. You got your thoughts. You got a lot of thoughts of what you're going to do. And your mind goes all over the map too, you know, like kids and finances and direction and past and present. And rarely are you thinking about how you're spinning or how you're sitting on the bike. It's a lot of just external thoughts and your mind just goes off because it's the same motion for 100 kilometers.
Yeah.
So your brain doesn't get to it. You're not acting as, say, tennis or something like that where there's different aspects to it. But so for me, it really just grew my mindset on it. And obviously physically it changed my body quite a bit. But I would say it's just that time spent of pushing past your limits to where, I never thought I could run past 10K. Like to do the race I did a triathlon. So it's 1.9 kilometer swim, which again, I hit the pool and I did 50 meters. And I said, this is going to be impossible. There's no way I can almost swim 2K. I can't do one length. I'm swallowing water. They had to refill the pool when I'd leave. Like it was nuts. So there was that hurdle, but then you did it and I did it. And it just sets that bar of like, what else can I do? Where else can I go? The bike ride is 90 kilometer bike ride. And I like to bike. So that to me, that was easy. And then the run was 21K. And when I was training through this, there was all these hurdles and there was all this time where, how am I going to make this happen? How am I going to do this? And you find a way. And when you sign up for a race and you commit to something, that's a huge motivator.
Oh, yeah.
And then you tell someone about it. That's an even bigger motivator because now they're going to hold you accountable and they're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
So it built the callous the mind. I mean, that really is, I had a lot of reps, a lot of opportunities where you still want to have family time. I still got to go to work, but you still got to train. So I'd be up at 3:30 in the morning with my flashlights on the front and back, biking through town, going out to Ritchie Brothers and out to Wembley. And so doing what I could. And that's crazy. And I kind of like when people would tell me like, that's insane. It's like, good. I like that. Like I like that I'm pushing boundaries at other individuals. And again, I'm not running for days. I'm not biking 1,000 kilometers, but I enjoy that and I search for those things of doing these kind of crazy outside the box. Ice baths has kind of become normal at this point, but yeah, getting up early, doing the runs, doing the bikes, doing different things that people would push away from and not run towards. And I think that's what we need more. Not the world is becoming much more cozy and comfortable, and I don't want to say soft, but we are adapting to the comforts of life.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we go against the grain. And I think you run in the snow or the rain, or you jump in a cold bath, or you work out when you don't want to. Like that win in the morning when your alarm goes off and you go, you know what? And you can turn that on a dime and you get up and you go and you do the things you don't want to do. The momentum and the stacking that does for your life and your day, I think I just wish everyone could experience that, doing hard things and seeing that happen over and over, building that repetition. It levels you up, but you got to go through it to get that feeling. And that's where I talk about the running. I never thought I could run past 10K, and then I did. Huh, invincible. Like you build this stamina, you build this strength, you build this mental strength that, okay, what's next? Like, let's do more hard things. And I just wish everyone could experience something to that degree, because yeah, it really amps you up.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Corbin, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the invite.
Thank you everyone for listening. If you guys learned something or found it interesting, please share the video with someone, as it helps me out a lot. Thanks.